Everybody was scared. It's one of them I don't know, and what do you do about it?
In 1972, the quiet community of Vernal, Utah was scarred by a crime that would go unsolved for more than 50 years.
Hello, everyone. It's Susan Gerbic from Psychics Explained. This is one of the things that I keep harping on. If you've watched my videos for a while or done any reading of the articles I publish in Skeptical Inquirer, and I don't think it's getting anywhere as enough information, publicity from people in the outside who keep trying to make excuses for psychics or keep saying that they're real or they work with the police, and on and on and on. And I'm at a point right now, whenever people give me these stories about how psychics are real, how they are out there solving crimes, or how they are able to communicate with the dead. And I'm done. I'm just about done with them. I mean, I can expose how the methods are doing. I can pull off stings on psychics, but the basis is that until we get these cold cases solved by psychics, by mediums, there's just no reason for us to be continuing to believe in a psychic or a psychic medium or any kind. I mean, overwhelmingly, I keep showing that there is no evidence that a psychic has solved a crime, predicted COVID, predicted the fires in LA. Nothing. It's just, what good are these people who supposedly give comfort and supposedly, make people feel good because they found out that grandpa is happy that you still have his woolen sweater in the closet, and dad likes that he keeps sending you coins. I mean, it's just silly at a certain point. Now, the video I'm going to show you is clips from a news channel. It's KUTV2 News Salt Lake City. And they seem to do a really good job on keeping up with I don't know how I ended up getting they keep feeding me videos, but on like crimes and closures and things like that. I don't know how, but I see these videos pass my feed every so often. And this one is called DNA Announcements Lead to Cold Case Breakthrough and Utah Abduction Murder Mystery. And it's only a day old. Today is February 7th, 2025. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the mystery. I'm not going to talk about the crime. I'm not going to talk about any of that. I will put the link to this video if you're curious about what the video is about. It's 16 minutes, 17 minutes, something like that. I'm going to show you some very quick clips. And the clips I'm going to show you are about forensic genealogy, solving cold cases, DNA, genetic genealogy, that kind of thing. And I thought it was a well done segment that this news team had put together that I thought we should just remind the viewers of Psychics Explained what is going on here. And let's talk about it on the other side. Let me show you this.
That is where my brother drew his last breath.
For 52 years, she has never stopped looking for her brother's killer, and now with this arrest, she feels one step closer to closure for her and her family and the entire town of Vernal.
I told you, I promised you I would get this done. I promised you I wouldn't rest until it was done. And I'm on it. I'm on my way.
For decades, Greg Nichols' family and that of his date lived without closure. But the arrest of Daryl Choate has finally brought the possibility of justice to this case, which is a reminder that time does not erase crimes. For the victims and their families, justice is never too late. I'm Jim Spiewak. Thanks for watching.
So I just want this as a reminder to you, and I know you know this out there, followers of the channel, but I want you to be reminded that there is a lot of grief, a lot of anger, frustration, that these families need to know what happened to their loved ones, who murdered them, or if the person disappeared on their own, if they're had an accident somewhere it was just an accident, not on purpose, and their body has never been recovered. All of these things, there is a human being on the other end, maybe multiple human beings, if you're talking about families that want to know what happened to their loved one. And if psychics can tell you, can talk to your grandma about her garden, or they can talk to you about some and come up with somebody's name that starts with a G or a J or something like that, and they could tell you about the dog that used to knock around the food bowl in the kitchen and flickering lights and all that, just nonsense, then they can solve some of these cases. All of the cases should be solved, every single one of them, including not just murders, missing people, but other cases as well. There is, if the psychics can do what they say they do and charge people for large amounts of money in some cases, and they have meeting after meeting after meeting with these people who are in grief, then they can start solving these cases. That's what I'm saying. So let me get to the DNA information on here that I said I'd get to.
Now let's take you into the complex world of unsolved crimes and the efforts being made to bring justice to families waiting for answers. DNA helped Utah clear a massive backlog of unsolved sexual assault kits. In 2015, Steve O'Cam was brought in to help clear that backlog.
I tell people literally this is like the golden age of cold cases and DNA testing.
By 2016, Utah began testing more than 1,700 backlogged kits. In 2020, all of those kits in the state had been tested, and it was an unprecedented turnaround that laid the groundwork for further innovations in cracking cold cases.
I mean, lots of people like to put puzzles together. We're putting together 10,000 piece puzzles with tiny pieces all the time, trying to figure out how to make it into a final version.
A key tool in working on that puzzle, genetic genealogy. Using DNA from a crime scene, it looks for relatives, pulling from public records and social media to build a family tree. In 2023, Utah created a law spelling out how it's used.
We're here to just obtain the truth, right? Uncover whatever that truth may be, and to use every ethical, legal tool we can.
Will there ever be a day where cold cases will be gone?
That's absolutely the goal of this technology, is to end the serial killer for sure.
Okay, so if you didn't catch that last little bit, I kind of cut it off a little bit. He says, is there a time that we're going to be able to solve all cold cases and there will be no more cold cases? And he says, absolutely, that is the goal of what they're doing with the DNA and the technology that they have now to solve cases. He says it should be the end of the serial killer. Done. And I absolutely agree. It's been decades and decades and decades where they've had to use really tedious, difficult, expensive methods to be able to solve crimes. Now we have, they said that they can use like a flake of DNA or just a very tiny bit of DNA, where they used to have to use large, massive amounts of DNA plasma. And they now can just do it very quickly. And so the goal of these agencies, if they can fund it, because of course these are very expensive to do, to have a genetic genealogist do this work, and very restrictive as far as you just can't have anybody doing it. It can't be crowdsourced necessarily. It has to be something that somebody is dealing with very private information, and it's a specialized skill. So these can cost $2,000 to $10,000 for a genetic DNA done. And it can take, a few weeks. Sometimes it's quicker to do this once they get the DNA and the results in. These genetic genealogists go in and they start using social media and different genealogical sites that allow people to look at the information that is the DNA. I do a lot of genealogy. I absolutely adore family history. My degree is in social history. I find that fascinating. And if there's anybody out there looking for a career idea, I would say get into genetic genealogy. If you like solving puzzles, I would advise people, this is a fascinating time to be able to get into a career choice of that would absolutely help people. Now, I'm not here to do a commercial for people to major in these sciences and to get their degree in this area. I'm just throwing that out there, that is much more helpful than having these mediums just what are they doing? They're keeping people who are in grief stuck and in the wrong area of searching for answers, giving just nonsense. Now, people who give tips to these police officers often, I mean, every crime I'm sure has hundreds, if not thousands of tips, and a lot of those have to be tracked down. Some of these people are very unwell, and others are fixated on whatever the crime is. And it could be high profile to a John Bonet, which just makes me want to crawl, at the people who are constantly going on about her, the poor thing. And and none of these cases are getting solved by psychics. Zero. So the psychics will say they helped in crime cases. And if you ask them, well, which ones? They say, oh, I can't talk about it. That's a bunch of BS, right? No one, zippo, nada, has ever been solved with the help of a psychic. A psychic can say it till the moon and back that they helped, but what does that mean? They called up a tip line and said, look for the color red and the number 5 and somebody named John. I mean, that's the equivalent of the information that they're giving them. Look near a body of water. Can you look? They're dead and they're by some rocks. How is that helpful? It's not. It wastes police time. It wastes resources. It's not respectful of the family or the victim. All of that is just, wrong. And so we need to get to a time where we stop focusing on, making excuses for these psychic mediums like, oh, well, he's really busy. Yeah, he's busy doing commercials. He's busy getting his photos taken. Yeah, she's out there really busy on Zoom doing gallery readings. No, there should be, if you have the ability to be able to talk to people who are dead, you should be able to clear these cases up. And I don't want to hear no nonsense about, well, they can only reach the person if the person is willing to be able to have, be open to it. Well, what kind of nonsense is that? You bring in, if there was even a few successes with even one psychic, you bring in the family member to talk to psychic medium, maybe at the police station, and the psychic medium says, okay, here's what we know. Here's what happened. Here's what the person looked like. Here's this, here's that. And besides, if they're supposedly talking to a dead person, the dead person should be able to go, well, I'm following him to his house right now. And here's the address that the guy lives at. And here's where the person works. But no, we never get any of that. Now, I hate to be ranting here, but it's frustrating. It's so frustrating that we're just still pandering to this nonsense of, well, maybe this, or it doesn't work that way. And no, it doesn't work at all. There is no one out there with any psychic ability. None, nada. Because how could it even happen? Why do we have dead people that are still missing? Why do we have missing unsolved cases? And not, like I said, just dead people, but other cases. There should be ways of looking into that. They should be able to contact the people who have died, who are the perpetrators. And in this case, one man is still alive. One man has been convicted. 52 years, this family had to wait. 52 years. Can you imagine how that felt to the family every day? They talked to the sister, and she said that it was like a 50-pound weight had been pulled off of her chest when they finally told her that they knew who it was who had murdered her brother. 52 years. And in that time, there's not been a single psychic that was going to be able to help them? No. Every time you see any kind of anything in the press saying, oh, the psychic helped, or the psychic helped, or whatever, when you follow up on there, there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. They say, oh, well, he kind of helped. If you want to look up a story, someday I'll have a interview with my friend Ben Radford, who was challenged to investigate the best detective case where a psychic solved the case. The man challenged my friend Ben Radford and said, you guys, you skeptics, you only pick the ones that are just the low-hanging fruit, the ones that are so easy to prove that the psychic wasn't involved. And Ben said, give me the best case for it. Give me the absolute best case scenario of a psychic ever solving a crime. And the guy gave him this case, and I can't remember the woman's name right now. But Ben spent, I think, 15 or 18 months working on it and looking into it, because it was a crime, I think, that happened in the 70s and the 80s. And it was just like, no, what the psychic said was going on. And yes, she did go to the police, and the police did use the psychic, but it was not of any help whatsoever. Retrofitting it after they finally figured out kind of what was going on, they took the psychic story and said, oh yeah, see, she mentioned somebody with a name in the last three initials kind of sound like somebody from a Slavic country. Like, that's helpful. My goodness. And so they retrofitted it a little bit to see and make it sound like the psychic has sort of helped. And the policeman, he interviewed the policemen who were kind of like, well, yeah, you know, she kind of helped, you know, this is from my memory. Because they were embarrassed, and they should be. So I'm making this video as a way of saying, let's focus on what is missing, as I always say in this channel. And what is missing is probably more important than what is on the screen or what the psychic is saying. And what is missing is that there is still nobody who's ever been found because of a psychic. No crime has ever been solved because of a psychic, and no bodies or anything like that are done. It's going to be good old-fashioned science and hard work and the passion of our police force in the places that they still have that passion. If you have funds and you want to help out, I'm sure there's all sorts of places that you can donate to make it possible for some of these smaller rural areas to be able to hire genetic genealogists, because these police, these small towns do not have the funds to be able to afford to have this done. But I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't ways of donating to allow that to happen, to get these cases solved. Because if we're waiting for the psychics, everybody, all family members are going to be long dead. Generations of people will never know the answers. And it's sad, pitiful. And if these psychics do have a way of solving these crimes, then what kind of people are they that will not solve these crimes? That's what I want to know. They're not helping anybody. If they have the ability to do it, they're not doing it. That's what I say. So thank you, everyone. Please leave your comments as you always do. I love this little community we're developing. Please like, please share, please hit the subscribe button. If you want more, please give me suggestions. I'm always doing videos and articles for Skeptical Inquirer on the topic of psychic mediums, grief vampires.